Hi, I'm Carla Page. Welcome to my show. Thank you so much for watching. You know, it's always very exciting to do a show on a regular basis. And from 1978, when I first started here at the station. Well, this week is really a good one. I mean, they're all good, but this one here, you've got to get on the phone and tell your friends about. My guest, my very special guest this week, is Ms. Zipporah Harris. She is from your personal space. That's her business. She is an organizing consultant / educator. She's going to help us, and I mean all of us, me too, me included, on what to do when you collect things, save things, won't throw things away, won't let go of stuff. So I welcome you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's just been a pleasure for our worlds to connect.
Yes, it has. It has. So I've got to first of all ask you about your name. It's spelled Zipporah. Where are you from?
I'm from Israel, and that is the King James Version spelling in English of my name.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's English, my father's Israeli. I've been in America for over 40 years. I'm an American citizen. And the proper pronunciation is with a TS or a TZ rather than just a Z.
Okay.
But "s" doesn't really work well in English at the beginning of a word.
Okay.
Maybe around the time Paul Tsongas run into some elections years ago. But in the meantime, Zipporah is a biblical name.
Mm-hmm.
Zipporah was Moses' wife. She had to be a very strong woman. I'm named after a strong woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to stay strong because
Yes.
us women have to come together and along with the men to make this world better.
I just think that meeting you that day, we met at a store actually in Latham. And, well, I guess that's considered Colony where that store was.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dollar Tree is where we met. And she was in line, and I was behind her, and she was talking to the cashier. And, of course, my ears perked up when she started talking about how she helps people. And then now you're here with me on my program.
I bless it as a God moment.
A divine intervention, right?
Yeah.
So, what exactly, now on the card it says organizing consultant educator. What exactly do you do? When someone calls you and calls upon you, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I do is offer a preliminary consultation for about 1 hour. It can be by phone or in person, either on-site or off-site, for a person to receive the flavor of the person I am and decide if the chemistry is good for us to work together. And we try and find out what it is they need. Some people have that dreaded kitchen drawer. They've given up on it, but they can't find a twist tie to save their life, though there are about 500 in that drawer. On the other hand, there are people that have new family situations, that just got married, had a baby, maybe a child left for college, maybe they're downsizing to move to a more manageable space because they're in the prime time and they want to go on vacations, or maybe they're retired.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. All is well. All is good. And every transition in life eventually catches up with a person and you settle into a routine.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is some people don't have routines. Never did, and they feel therefore never will. That is not true. I'm here to help people find a common goal, their vision, my skill. That's why my business is your personal space. Mm-hmm. Your space, my skill. Thank you for allowing me to be a guest in your home, because without it, we really can't do the work, at least initially. So one thing I do when I go on site is first check for fire safety. I need to make sure all doors and windows are accessible. So, God forbid there's a catastrophe of any sort, people can get out safely. It also includes checking into electric wiring and lamps. Is it close to curtains? Are there wires under carpets where they're stepped on and that can wear out the cord and expose the metal wires inside? And copper, it really does get warm. So That's the first thing we do. Now, what I don't do is say, oh, this is junk. You have to get rid of this. This is not my approach, never will be my approach. Usually I will point out right away wonderful things I notice, because even in the worst chaos, you will find beautiful items that were very well thought over before purchasing, either for self or received as a gift by someone else that took the time. I try and point out those beautiful things first and foremost, and the person starts feeling good because you're not pointing fingers like clean up the mess. You're pointing out, wow, you have so many beautiful things. Would you like to have your house display those items in a more welcoming way? That is my approach. Even when I close places, God forbid someone passed away and I need to close a home, I always make sure the family and closest of friends and neighbors have a chance with a house cooling. We do it when a person's alive too, if they choose to. Opposite house warming, when you receive gifts, house cooling, you part way with items and give them away to either family, friends, or neighbors, so they can remember you by them. It could be a scarf, it could be a dish set, it doesn't matter. And the people are feeling, if they're alive, that they're going to someone that would appreciate it. If they passed away, the family feels good because the person will be remembered. So that's some of the things.
Okay, so now the word hoarder, we know there's television shows all nationwide about hoarders, but to me, if somebody were to refer to me as a hoarder, to me that doesn't sit well with me. So is that word, hoarder, offensive?
It depends to who you are speaking with. If you speak to someone that read about hoarding tendency and self-identifies, you have to respect that. Just like people that have diabetes, sometimes they say, I'm a person with diabetes, sometimes they say, I'm a diabetic. It's their place to decide the lingo. However, chronically, organizationally challenged is another way of seeing that. And what people call hoarding can mean different things to different people. There are people that are generally neat, but you open a drawer and you can't find even one paper clip, although there might be 1,000 in there. And then you have people that are collectors, pack rats, all the way to the hoarding tendencies, and all of them come in the forms of a very clean home or a home that Department of Health should be inspecting.
Okay.
So hoarding does not work for someone such as yourself. I respect that. But if you say, I'm disorganized, or if you say, I wish I found a way to organize my space better, that's where we go from. That's the starting point.
And I like to say for myself that I like to collect things and keep things. And I love to shop, first of all, and I love the hunt. But I'm someone that doesn't want to get rid of stuff myself. I mean, I have stuff from my mother and my father, who are both deceased. I have one child, and I have some of her stuff when she was a child. I have just, stuff that people have given me over the years and all that. But were you ever someone that was considered a hoarder? How did you get into this?
It's a long story. I grew up in Israel. And in Israel, usually the families are larger. Number of children is larger than in America. And the houses are much smaller, or even apartments. You have to be ingenious to figure out how to fit everything you own that you really do need, like dishes for a meal and clothes for the children, in a smaller space with more people. So, for example, I'm one of 5 children. The 4 daughters shared the nursery, what used to be the nursery. We had 2 day beds that would pull out at night and become 4 beds. And at that point, all the chairs at the desks had to be pushed all the way to the desk, or you couldn't open the beds. A brother was in the spare room that was also a guest room for when family came from England. He was sent to the couch in the living room when guests came. It was a much, much, much smaller room, but it was his room. When he grew up, some and went away, he went to boarding school, then 2 of the girls went to the boys' school, and when he came home, he had to go on the couch. So we felt very spacious at the time. Our friends are very similar. Some of the families our friends came from had 12 children. Mm-hmm. Some only had 3, but they only had a one-room house. So not even a studio. We're talking a one-room house. The bathroom was outside. So I grew up where the parents realized in no time flat, I'm a twin, we're identical, that when they invited the twins over to play with their children, and they would announce dinner would be ready soon, the twins would pick up and tidy up and sometimes find ways to organize the items in a much better way.
Isn't that something?
So they had a very good time inviting us for dinners. I've had every cuisine under the sun because Israel is a land of immigrants, and enjoyed every moment of it. We had more friends than you could shake a stick at. It was just very wonderful. Until one day we heard the parents talk, and we realized why we were so very popular. The same was with our babysitting jobs. We were the most popular babysitters because the dishes would be done and the house would be clean. Just not OCD, but a step under that. We really enjoyed our spaces open and organized.
Now, without saying any amounts, when you go to people, are you affordable?
It all depends on one's income. If someone's on a very strict income, it's fixed, obviously every penny counts. So what I tell people is, I do ask for a 2-hour minimum on site. I ask for 1 hour minimum by phone or video. And I say, you need to figure out what your budget is. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure you don't shortchange yourself on the food budget, on your medicines, utilities, and such things. I said, we will find a way to help you. And my rates are different based on income. So if someone needs a reduced rate,
yes,
we meet the middle ground. They know what my normal rate is for certain conditions, and my rates differ based on the condition the house is in, and they know what my lowest rate is. And I find that actually the people that make less money are the ones that are the most generous because they understand the value of work. And sadly, the people that make the most money are the ones that would like to reduce the rate when it's fully known they could afford it. Now, it doesn't mean that people that are wealthy don't have reasons to not afford us. We never know the story. I never check. I don't do background checks. I take the person's word. And if with time we find out differently, so be it.
I see.
There's still the fact that they reached out for help is also huge because there's great shame associated with these organizations, especially for our generation, the baby boomers that grew up in the 50s with shows like Leave It to Beaver.
You don't want people probably to come to your house, right?
Those houses were impeccable, and the apron was on, and the mother was perfect, even if she worked. So this is not the reality in our world. People are working very hard to make ends meet, and they have much less time on the home front.
Just something. So now, your information is this, and I do want to make sure that I get this out. Your phone number, I can give that. What would you want to give?
The landline is where a voicemail can be.
Okay, you want to give that yourself?
Yes, 518. 393-3511.
Okay.
And that is a landline. You can leave a voicemail or a message if someone's home, and it will get to me. The reason I don't give the cell number out for texting until after I meet someone is because I still teach part-time.
That's fair.
So or work with others.
Yeah. No,
so
that's
I
fair.
do not want to to be distracted when I'm on site.
And then how about any online information you would like to give out?
Yes, my email is a Gmail, and that is the name of my business, Your Personal Space, and that is all lowercase letter followed by the number 1, the numeral 1. So Your Personal Space 1 at gmail.com.
Okay. All right, well, I tell you something. I am so into being able to know what to do for myself because I'm someone myself that has this thing about saving everything. Oh my God, I'm something. So let me ask you this, Zipporah. I want to know the root of all, even for me. Why are we holding on to stuff? Now, I know some people had made some comments about some things that it could be. And if you could just let us know briefly about this. OCD, you mentioned that, or ADHD, or PTSD, or ADD, or head trauma, or any sort or kind of trauma. Do any of these add up to why people do what they do?
It's not necessarily the reason, but it can be a contributor. ADD, ADHD, attention deficit disorder, and attention deficit hyperactive disorder, they usually combine into one these days. The distractibility. Pretend you're a stamp collector and you also love birds. And you're looking at the stamps in the albums in front of an open window because you want the good light. You will not finish putting the stamps away because you will be distracted by the sound of birds outside. Distractibility stops us. However, there's a bonus for being ADD or ADHD. It's called hyperfocus. If you ever met somebody with ADD or ADHD, you notice either they don't seem to pay attention to you or they're so involved in what they're doing, the house can fall apart around them and they won't notice because they're in hyperfocus. So we are trying to find ways to train people what to do. And in these cases, you have to break it down to smaller tasks. For example, put like items together. Let's collect all the short sleeve shirts in one pile, all the long sleeve shirts in another pile. Step 2, shall we pull out all the blue shirts out of that pile? Step 3, let's look at them and see if any of one of them is torn, stained, too small, too big. Let's set those aside for donation. Let's see how many blue shirts now you have left. How many long and how many shorts do you really want? Are any of those shirts you only wear because everything's in the laundry and you don't really like them? Donate those you don't like. If you need to go and purchase a new shirt because you gave something away, if you are well off enough, no problem. You go into a store. If you're not as well off, sadly, you can't replace it right away. But secondhand stores work very, very well, and many things there even have a price tag still on. So you can really be thrifty and still enjoy. If you enjoy buying new clothes for the new year and every holiday, do so.
Yes.
But when you bring something in, donate something out.
There's always some hope when it comes to being organized. It seems like there is light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. And I like your approach about this. So you probably have a lot of people that you work with. You have a lot of clients?
I have a lot of people I've worked with. Many of them are long-term. Those that I've been working with long-term do not need to see me every week anymore. They call me per their need. Some people want to see me once a month.
Okay.
Some people once a season. And some people, if I worked with them every day,
Yes.
anything from 2 to 8 hours a day, and achieved a certain level that plateaued, will maybe move to 2 or 4 hours a week just to make sure they don't slide back.
Yes, indeed.
And I have people that have really accomplished so much, they are now helping others, either family members or friends. And one of the most gifting words I heard this week from someone I've worked with for quite a while, who's now helping someone else, is that the person has been Zipporah-sized. So
I like that.
I really enjoy that. And I
Yeah.
have someone that I know, family members, and they know me. We've
Yes.
met. They're out of state. And they were so impressed with what I did, but they were too embarrassed to call me, but they
Okay.
called the family members to help them do the same thing that was done. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
I I lovingly joke with people, please hire me so you can fire me and we build a wonderful friendship. But on good terms. I want you to know that you've reached your goals.
Okay.
And if you need to call me because, God forbid, there's a catastrophe that happened, I'll be there.
Because like that collecting, or people say hoarding, it can be clothing, it can be furniture, it could be records. I mean, it could be jewelry. It could just be so many. It could be pots and pans.
It can be rubber bands and pen caps. I can give you a list of what people have collected.
I can imagine you do have lists. So before we run out of time, I want to have you brought some visuals. Will you tell us about what you brought, Zipporah?
Absolutely. I'll start with this wonderful folder that says Before. This folder essentially is a collection of photos. If you meet with me, I can walk you through the before, during, and after. And what happens here, my oldest client has downsized and moved from Brooklyn to assisted living in Queens. She has since passed away. She was 99 when she asked me to come help because she heard from a friend that helped her, that I helped that friend. And she said, I have a family member on the West Coast. When I leave, I don't want them to work so hard.
And I looked in this book, and oh my God, I could see where the before and during and after, and I really do see a difference.
Yes. And then an easy tool. This is from the Dollar Tree. I use it for my students as well as for the people I help. I call them my friends rather than clients because they do become friends very fast. And each day you can choose what you want to put there. It can be your to-do list, or I accomplished this list, or these are the thoughts I thought. This is the plan I thought of room A, B, or C. It's yours. I don't dictate what you put in it. But every day, try and record something in the process of us working together. It would help you. It's a very simple journal, and it's ready, and it comes in many designs. The other thing I brought is something I also show my students around holidays when we have to try and better ourselves. How do we measure up? Are we comparing ourselves to other people? Are we comparing ourselves maybe to what society dictates is the way? Except society dictates way based on what's popular that day. Only measure yourself against yourself, no one else. The best tape measure is how you feel. Can you look in the mirror in the evening before going to sleep and say, this was a good day. I helped so-and-so, and I managed this, and I took care of my pet. Don't worry about what the world thinks about you. Be more embracing of self. The next thing I bring is the old-fashioned puzzle 15. This is a very simple move the square puzzle. The number was out of place. I put it back. Puzzle 15 is, do you see how the numbers are out of place?
I do.
You slide them and pretend that's a room in your house. You just finish putting the numbers in order. But is it the proper order? The old-fashioned puzzle 15, move the square puzzle, shows many ways you can organize. There are many patterns. So it can be diagonal, it can be horizontal, it can be spiral, it can be any order you can think of. You can put the even numbers first, the odd numbers second. You can do it by color if it's a multicolor. And on this piece of paper, I wrote some of the patterns that came.
Oh, okay.
And then there's one that there is no order, there is no pattern. Hoarders, or people that choose to call themselves that, don't have a pattern. Everything is everywhere. There is no order. They cannot slide the square because there's no room. There's no room because just like a box that you have, if a balloon is deflated, it fits in a box just fine.
Okay.
As you inflate the balloon, it replaces the air in the box and there's no room to put anything else. Your house is like the box. The balloon is everything you put in it. There's only so much space in the house for you to fit things in. Eventually, there'll be no room. You cannot sleep on the roof outside. And if I point to these wonderful containers, they came from one little box.
One box.
Now, we are familiar with these containers if you raised any children or were around children, because these are boxes that help people stack, size order, colors, and whatnot. If I take these boxes and I take them apart, tops and bottoms, this can be your Tupperware cabinet. Some people like each container stacked by size, by color, with the lid on because they can't find the lid. Some people have space concerns. They will take the containers and they will essentially collapse them into each other. And what happens is they fit in a much smaller space. Yes, you have to maneuver and handle them. But then if your cabinet was only this small, you can see the container fits very well in it. Problem solved. You have less space. You still have every last container.
Everything is
You've
there.
not given up anything. You just organize it differently. And this is my pretend fire extinguisher.
Okay.
People call me because it's time to put a fire out.
Yes.
Oh my God, I have someone in a wheelchair. I can't bring them home.
Okay.
We need to open the space to fit a wheelchair. Don't put fire out. Use this as a spritzer to cool yourself off by a pool in the summer. Furthermore, how many people have 1,000 pens and they can never find the one? And it's in every room and every drawer in the house, but they can't find it because it's so cluttered. For every pen you don't have to buy, as you go through the week, put a certain amount of money. Make that your vacation fund.
Okay.
Now you'll have an experience. You take pictures, you can collect the pictures in an album. You've just taken care of yourself and taken care of your house. And don't be shy wearing aprons. Aprons have pockets.
Yes.
As you move through the house, make sure that the things you need, let's say I need a real fire extinguisher, put it in a pocket.
Wow.
Make that available. Hang it on the hook.
Yes.
So when you go do your work, it's there. It's ready for you.
I'm going to have you come back. Would you come back and do part 2?
Absolutely. With pleasure.
Wouldn't mind. And another time we'll have you back. I, along with millions of other people globally, will be celebrating Earth Day on the 22nd of April. And I want to say Happy Earth Day to you.
Happy Earth Day to
And
you.
if you want to get Zipporahized, thank you for being my guest. And I know you've helped a lot of people. And we'll be looking forward to you coming back for part 2. But thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Carla, for
Keep
having
up the
me.
good work, helping people declutter.
And thank you for spreading the word so people know there's hope.
My pleasure. Thanks for watching. I love you, and I'll see you next week. And whatever you do, keep the love churning.